Dog check! Woo! Woo! This is Nick Heron from New Philadelphia, Ohio. And welcome to the Dawgs podcast. Let's kick it off, fellas.
Welcome to the Dawgs podcast with your hosts, Blake Reneker, Justin Charles, and Josh All.
Hey, welcome back to another episode of The Dawgs. If you want to get your intro on the show, head to thedogspodcast.com, tap leave voicemail on the drop-down menu. Big shout-out to Nick Heron, like 8 months ago for that intro. We just reused it. It was a good one. Send us another one. That way we don't have to reuse it. And everybody else send us your intros because we don't want to reuse old ones unless we have to. So, thedogspodcast.com, tap leave voicemail on the drop-down menu. Today, we're going to get into the most recent Watson news that just dropped before we got into the studio, messing up our entire plan for the episode, so we're kind of doing this on the fly. We're also going to talk about training camp. But before we do, I got to remind you to check us out on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. If you're watching on YouTube, please like and subscribe. Make sure to tap the notification bell so you never miss a new episode. If you prefer to just listen to the show, you can find us on Apple, Spotify, and Google Podcasts. Lastly, if you're looking for more Dawgs content, head to jointhedawgs.com, become an official Dog Pack member on our Patreon page. This is going to be the last couple days to sign up for fantasy. So this episode is going to come out on Thursday. You got till Friday night to whenever I feel like posting the thread. So probably like late Friday night, 11 p.m.-ish, midnight-ish to get into the Patreon. That way you can be a member of the fantasy leagues. If you want to play with us, hopefully we have 4 leagues this year. It was a lot of fun last year. The winners of the leagues get some free Dawgs merch. It's a good time for everybody. You get an extra episode every week. Threads constantly, especially with all this Deshaun stuff going on. We're always in there posting threads, getting everybody's input. There's people from Scotland, all over the world. It's a ton of fun in there. So if you want to meet Browns fans from all over the world, you want to play some fantasy football with the Dawgs, have more access to the Dawgs all the time, jointhedawgs.com, become an official Dog Pack member on the Patreon page. So before we get into this episode, I want to shout out Noah. I don't know your last name. So cool story. We were all up at training camp this Saturday. We're sitting there watching it go on, and we kind of hear from behind us, "Hey, are you the Dawgs?" That was like one of the coolest highlights of my life.
That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yep.
So huge shout out to Noah. We watched training camp with Noah and his family. They listened to the show. The coolest part of doing the show is like meeting people from all over. And I definitely never thought in a million years we would ever get recognized in public. So it's really awesome. We really appreciate everybody who watches the show. You guys were super awesome. And we just appreciate that a lot. Thank you guys for watching. I feel like Tom Cruise or something.
You don't look like him.
Yeah. I ate Tom Cruise.
There we go.
Yeah. So big shout out to Noah at training camp. Then also we got to shout out Wyatt Teller, Justin Charles' new best friend.
Yeah. Are we going to talk about that right now? Or
Go
are we
ahead.
going to wait?
No, go ahead.
So we got an opportunity to get some autographs. We had a good spot on the right on the sideline, right on the rope. We're like second row back. Joe Thomas just walked by us, blew us off. That's fine. Thanks a lot, Joe. You're awesome. We love you still, but whatever. So Wyatt Teller comes down and signed autographs for probably, I would say, 15, 20 minutes. A lot of kids. And then, just kept saying, "Hey, guys, I'm going to get in trouble. I got to get out of here. I got to go to meetings." And, so we were fine with that. And then his wife pointed out, "Hey, there's somebody with a Wyatt Teller jersey," which was a kid that was standing right next to me. And like a million kids came rushing up. I kind of backed off because, I have his autograph on another football, and I was just like, "Hey, this is a cool experience." We're a couple feet from him.
We just got to shoot the crap with him then.
Yeah, I just kept I said to him, I was like, "Hey, man, I can't wait to see you just pancake people all season." He's like, "Absolutely, brother." And I'm like, "That's it. I'm good. I'm straight. That's all I needed." And, and then John and I was like, "Bro, get down there and get that autograph." And I just walked up. He signed a football for me, took a picture with us. My wife sent it to his wife, and she tagged it on her Instagram story. So it was just a really cool experience. A guy that we always liked. Appreciated hhis play on the football field, but just to see how genuine and awesome of a guy he was just in person, and really cool. It was just a really cool experience. I've had experiences like that before. But man, it was just very personal. It was very cool. And just seeing how he was with the kids and stuff, this guy was out there for at least a half an hour signing autographs. And then I read a Twitter story that he was out there like another 20 minutes.
I thought it was really funny because his wife kept like pulling him, being like,
yes,
Wyatt, you got to go. And then she was like, wait, go back.
Yeah. She was saying, hey, we got to go.
Pulling him around everywhere.
Yeah.
Both of them were super nice.
Yes.
Just sitting there, even if we wouldn't have gotten an autograph from him, just like getting to talk to him for a couple of minutes.
Yeah.
It was super cool. And he's kind of a nerd. He plays Dungeons and Dragons, which is pretty sweet. So he was already one of my favorite Browns players just based on like how badass he is.
Yes.
And then just like getting to kind of meet him for a couple of minutes and like how down to earth. Definitely one of my favorite Browns players. So I thought we had to shout out Wyatt Teller because that was awesome at camp.
Absolutely.
So we were getting ready to do an episode talking about the 6-game suspension, and then about like an hour before we got in here, it broke that the NFL was going to appeal Judge Sue Robinson's decision. And who knows what they're going to do. There's all kinds of reports saying they're going to go for indefinite. It's going to be a full season, blah, 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 blah. Basically, what I'm here to say now is, what was the point of the entire process if we are just going to then let Roger Goodell do whatever he wants anyways? And at the same time, why did the NFLPA agree to these terms in the CBA? If there's going to be an appeal, why is it also not to an unbiased third party? Why would you be like, hey, we want this new process, but at the end of the day, if you don't like it, just do whatever you want anyways?
Yeah, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense that you've got two sides kind of going at this thing with an impartial third party kind of deciding what's going to happen. And then at the end of it all, one of the sides gets to make the decision anyway.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense whatsoever.
But that's shame on the NFLPA for that. I
don't know why they
that.
would ever agree to that.
Yeah, I mean, the NFL could have blown off the hearing. They could have just been like, whatever, we don't care, because at the end of the day, we get to do whatever we want anyways.
Yeah.
So
it was like it was all for show.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
And then what kills me is in Sue Robinson's report, she essentially kind of blasts the NFL about their handling of punishments throughout the years. Kind of they're reactive instead of proactive.
Correct.
They kind of wait to see how it's going to look in the media. Then they make their decisions. Ray Rice, he got 2 games until the video came out. Then he's gone. Like, that's why I've been saying forever. The NFL is not the morality police. They could care less. It's all about PR.
And money.
Yeah. So she puts them on blast for that. And then they're just going to turn around and do it anyways.
Yep.
So I just don't understand whether you think he should be suspended longer, you didn't think he should, whatever side of the spectrum you're on, you have to see that the process is extremely flawed. I don't mind if there's going to be an appeal. Appeals happen, but you shouldn't be appealing to one side. That's ignorant.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense to me.
It's a really inefficient process. It's also kind of unfair to the fans, in my opinion. It's just a huge waste of time and money.
Yes. Yeah.
It's unfair to the fans. It's unfair to the team. I mean, they don't really they don't know what they're preparing for.
And what she said was, you can't say the punishment is one thing, and then when somebody punishes it and people get mad about that he broke that rule, being like, all these people are mad, so I'm going to punish them harder. No, there's a set punishment. Whether that punishment is harsh enough, well, that was on you guys to decide, not on her. She was using precedent based on what you've done in the past. So it's just, I don't understand what was this like dog and pony show or whatever the saying is about doing this new collectively bargained process if they're just going to turn around. And Roger can designate somebody, like Justin said. That person's just a Roger puppet. He's got his hand up his butt, and he's just telling him, that's all it is.
So Roger, he's going to walk into his office tomorrow, whoever this does, because Roger Goodell is going to get out of the spotlight of this. He's not going to be the guy that does the suspension, because he doesn't want to deal with the backlash that's going to come off of this. Regardless, there's going to be backlash regardless. This is where we're at. Our feelings are going to get hurt. People are going to be upset regardless of the decision. We're talking about serious things here. But you're literally going, hey, my assistant, my designee, what do you think he's going to do? Walk in the office and go, so Roger, what are we doing here? We're doing a full year. That's what you said in the media yesterday. You still want to do that, or what are we doing? And I don't know, like, to me, like Blake said, I just don't understand why you took all the time, this whole process, this whole trial, bringing in an independent arbitrator, And then this is where we're at. Now, I understand. I really, truly believe, like, going into tomorrow morning at 9 that both sides were just going to be like, well, this is what it is. NFL was going to say, hey, we did our best. We wanted a year. She decided 6 games. It is what it is. I just feel like it was such a waste of time for the judge. I don't want to say
no matter what, but
Yeah,
still, she got to be like, well, hey guys, what did you hire me for?
Yeah, count me out of the next case.
Yeah,
you know, if you don't, and I don't mean that joking around. I'm just saying, like, there was people that valued her opinion in this whole process and valued what she was going to say, and just to completely disregard it and be like, well, hey, that was never going to be good enough. And I think it was reactionary. I mean, there was going to be part of that, but.
So I think what you have to look at, too, is for this appeal. Now, in theory, who knows if they'll follow us, because now it's in their hands. They can essentially do whatever the hell they want. But the appeal isn't based on the social media circus and the news circus of 24 or 30. It's still only based on what was said in the 3-day hearing. It's still only based on 4 cases. So she already said that they don't have grounds to suspend for a full season. That was her ruling. Now, she said they're a private organization. Essentially, they can do whatever they want. But in her opinion, which is why they hired her, they don't have grounds to do that. So then if they're now looking at the case as it was presented to the judge, and it's only 4 of them, not 30, and they're not violent, then what is going to be then their grounds for going longer than what she... You know, I'm looking forward to seeing if they go longer. I've heard, Justin has heard, they're going indefinite. I've seen indefinite.
Schefter's reporting indefinite.
I've heard 12 games with a huge fine. I've heard they're going to try to push it into next year to affect his salary, all kinds of stuff. I want to hear what's their ruling behind it. You know what I mean? And people will say, the reasoning is because he was accused by so many. I get that. But that's not what this is based on. You have to have some kind of confines and structure to this, and it is based on 4. And it is based on what was said in the 3-day trial. Mm-hmm. So then what can your grounds be for extending it? A judge who was a judge for 25 years that you hired who is an expert in this stuff said no, 6. So then how can you turn around and make it longer and then have any kind of validity to your reasonings?
I think it's interesting that, I mean, I'll just read a piece out of her report that we wanted to mention here. She wrote, Mr. Watson is hereby suspended for 6 regular season games without pay. This is the most significant punishment ever imposed on an NFL player for allegations of non-violent sexual conduct. So he's already getting the most severe punishment anyone in the NFL has ever received for this kind of thing.
Yes.
So now they want to make it more? You know what I mean? Like, what happens?
So this is where, and this is on the NFL with this whole situation. The NFL has had a history where, regardless of what the punishment hasn't matched up. If whether you're saying this isn't enough or this isn't fair or whatever, I thought at the end of this year the NFL was going to roll out like basically a playbook of, hey, if you get caught doing something along the lines of what Deshaun Watson just got accused of, you will be suspended for a year, something like that. So for me, I'm just like, I don't know. I feel like it just kind of, they just said, hey, we don't care. Everything's off the table. And whether you agree or disagree on whether it's severe or not.
That's not the point here. Right?
Yeah.
The point is the process.
Right.
You're supposed to be following some sort of process.
That's out the window. Obviously.
Correct.
I think that's you.
Well, in her report, she even says here the NFL is attempting to impose a more dramatic shift in its culture without the benefit of fair notice to and consistency of consequence for those in the NFL subject to the policy. So this wasn't the punishment before he committed these, what the NFL said he did.
Right.
If the standard was a year-long suspension, even as Browns fans, we wouldn't be complaining about a year-long suspension, but it's not the standard.
Right.
They're just winging it.
And before this, I believe we talked about this, right? It was 3 games, right? It was the most ever for non-violent sexual misconduct.
I don't know that for sure. I don't want to just,
I'm pretty sure
yeah.
it's what she wrote in the report because I think the 6th game is actually double.
Yeah.
And
I saw people saying that.
Yeah.
And to John's point, when he said about the standard, people will say, well, nobody's ever been accused of 24. Again, it's the confines of the hearing. It's 4. It's not 24.
Right.
So I get your point in what you're saying, and you might be right, but at the end of the day, that is not supposed to matter in this situation. Now, whether you want to say morality, right, wrong, but that's not what we're here to decide. It's the process, and it's for. So that's just why she was hired, because we're supposed to be getting away from just willy-nilly whatevers, that the NFL does.
Yeah. And John, it's a good point. I mean, just as a quick side note, it's like when Josh Gordon kept getting suspended for testing positive for marijuana, we may not have agreed that he should be kicked out of the league for smoking marijuana, but that was the standard. So as a Browns fan, you can complain about Josh Gordon doing something stupid, but at the same time, we can't complain about the punishment because that's what we knew the punishment was.
They were upholding a policy. They weren't making a new policy every time he got caught.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, it'd have been like if he got caught smoking weed and they were like, 3-year suspension now.
Yeah.
But the standard was 6 games.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
but he's done it a couple times now, so it's 3 years.
It turned into that.
Yeah, but that was the standard.
Right, I know what you're saying.
There was a process for that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's just crazy. And what's kind of crazy to me? So I was thinking about this. Roger Goodell suspended Dante Stallworth for 1 season.
For killing somebody.
He literally killed somebody.
Yeah, I remember that.
He killed somebody.
Yep.
And he got a 1-season suspension. And you can say 24, 4, whatever. He didn't kill anybody.
Nope, he did not.
So how can that's the problem. That's why this lady was brought in to do this, because there has to be some kind of system in place, some kind of standards and rules. You can't kill somebody and get a year and then be allegedly accused of something and get a year.
Right. Stallworth didn't allegedly kill somebody.
He killed somebody. Yeah. So that's why she was hired. So I just don't understand why waste people's time with that if we're just back to where we were 6 months ago before it all started. It makes no sense to me whatsoever. And it's just because they're just trying to, it's just like I said, it's the Ray Rice all over again. They went with this until people were outraged, and then they went with harder. They were good. I guarantee you, this is why it took 2 days for them to decide. They're turning on ESPN, NFL Network, Fox, trying to gauge what people were saying. And they're like, well, there's more people mad than there's not. So we're going to appeal now. That's all. That's what it is.
Yeah, the public mob. Browns fans, we just want to take a quick break in the action to remind you about DraftKings. DraftKings changed the fantasy game forever in 2012. Now, 10 years later, they're doing it again with Rainmakers Football, their first ever NFT fantasy game. A new way to enjoy daily fantasy football, a new shot to win millions in prizes, and the only NFT fantasy game licensed by the NFLPA. Playing Rainmakers Football is simple. Buy, sell, bid, and win player cards of the biggest names in the game through regular drops and auctions. Build your collection of football stars and enter free Rainmaker football contests all season long to compete for millions in jaw-dropping prizes. Each week, craft your lineups of athletes from your NFT collection and rack up points for touchdowns, receptions, and more, just like you would in daily fantasy football. The next generation of fantasy sports is almost here. Download the DraftKings Daily Fantasy app now. Sign up with promo code TPPN. Click the Rainmakers title and opt in so you can be ready for the next drop. Play free for millions in prizes all football season and build the ultimate NFT fantasy franchise with Rainmakers Football. That's promo code TPPN only at DraftKings. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com for details.
Now, this might be a little off topic, but I think that this is probably not going to go the NFL's way. I think this appeal by the NFLPA, I think if they do decide to sue and take it to court, this is going to get super, super ugly. And like a lot of owners are going to get exposed.
Yep.
Stuff. There's going to be things that are going to come out of this that I don't think the NFL is ready to get involved with. And it needs to be brought out. Yeah. I think it's completely unfair that...
Go ahead.
That there's 3 owners right now that essentially are doing, I'm not saying it's the same exact things, but they're being alleged and even have pretty much been caught doing the same or worse things. And it's just, let's give them a fine. And I don't want to joke around about it. There's nothing funny about this, but like, it's crazy to me that the fact that you are an owner and you have money and power, it's, hey, don't worry about it. On to the next one. Hey, just let's see what happens. But if you're a player, that it's just completely a different standard. And like, I know they have to protect the shield and all that, but where's protecting the shield when the people that are running the league are doing the same exact things? It's crazy to me. and it's just a fine or nothing.
Well, like Goodell was called in front of like a judiciary committee or congressional committee or something
For Washington.
Yes. And he was very like unforthcoming about things. He lied blatantly about a couple of things, blatantly lied. And you know what I mean? And so who's holding him accountable? It's just crazy to me. I mean, and then so now I guess that brings up like you said, you don't think it's going to go well for them. Even if the case eventually gets thrown out or Deshaun loses in federal court, what the NFLPA's goal here is to drag out all the NFL's dirty laundry.
Oh, for sure.
Just to make it public. They're going to subpoena everybody. Bob Kraft, the guy who interviewed Bob Kraft, Daniel Snyder, everybody's going to be on that stand. Yep. And it's all going to be out there. It's going to be little to do with Deshaun Watson and more about just dragging the NFL through the mud. So if you're about protecting the shield, you probably don't want to go to federal court.
And the crazy thing that I'm seeing too with this is there's a really, really good chance that the NFLPA sues will end up, basically getting a restraining order for Deshaun Watson. And then Deshaun Watson has a legitimate chance to probably play this entire season.
At least.
Because this is going to go to federal court and it'll take forever. Yep. Now, next year, we might be right back in these same seats talking about we're going through the court processes and what does this mean? And here we are. But there is a serious, serious chance that if he gets suspended for a year, it's a wrap. I think that there's a really strong chance he plays week 1. Yeah. And I'm almost like the NFL wants that. Like
they want the Baker versus Deshaun showdown, but they don't want it. They can't come out and say, "Hey, this is what we want."
So let's go waste more time and money, and
it'll take at least a year for it to go on. At least, if not longer than a year.
But why wouldn't you just want? I don't know how you guys feel, but I want this to. I would love to just get a suspension going, get this over with, go about my day because I'm tired of. For something that I've rooted for 35 years now, I'm the bad guy for cheering for a team that I've loved my entire life. And if you look at Browns Twitter, anything like that, Browns fans are the scum of the earth whether you just support Deshaun Watson. I've seen all sides of it, whether you support him, whether you don't. People still love that brand. They still love the city of Cleveland. And Cleveland Browns are Cleveland. It's straight up, that's what it is. So, I don't know.
Please listen, if you're a fan of a team in the AFC North, spare me the moral. Browns fans are giving up their morals to get wins. I don't want to freaking hear it. The Bengals, your running back cold clocked a woman into the dark dimension on tape. I don't hear you guys complaining about that. Anytime I call a Bengals fan out for Joe Mixon, it's, oh, yeah, but he was young. Yeah, but he's just a bunch of yeah buts. I don't give a He cold clocked her on camera. You still root for him every single week. Growing up, the Bengals were in prison. So many Bengals were in and out of prison. I thought their quarterback was going to be Paul Crewe. So I don't hear anybody talking about morals, how it's morally bankrupt to be a Bengals fan. So I don't want to hear it. Hey, Steelers fans, your quarterback was accused of rape.
Twice.
Yes. And all I hear is, yeah, but the one admitted to lying. Yeah, but twice. And then he settled out of court for one of them. All I've heard for the last 2 months is, why would you settle if you're not guilty? He settled for rape. Rape. That is significantly worse than anything Deshaun has been accused of. Oh, you also had Michael Vick on your team. So, and I didn't hear anybody screaming about that. I watched Ben Roethlisberger get an emotional send-off on ESPN as he's running around the stadium, high-fiving people. People are crying. Announcers are talking about the great careers Ben's had. One of the greats is calling it quits. He was accused of rape twice and settled out of court. So spare me the moral high ground. Ravens fans, I'm not missing out on you. Your most storied player in franchise history murdered 2 people. Murdered. Unalived them, killed them. He also settled out of court. The only reason he's not in jail for murder is because he's flipped and snitched on his 2 boys. You can spin it any way you want it. He obstructed justice. He knows who killed those people if he didn't do it. He wouldn't tell anybody. Those families don't have family members now because him or his boys killed him. And you guys worship the ground he walks on. So spare me the moral high ground bullshit. It's driving me nuts. Like, give it a rest. Murder and rape. And you're talking, come on.
And violent assault against a woman.
Yeah. It's crazy.
It is. It is crazy. And I know you've been holding that rant in for a while, but it's,
all these fans of all these teams, oh, you guys are morally bankrupt. Oh, my God. The only team without an arrest in like the last 5 years is the Chargers. So if a Chargers fan wants to come and give me shit for it, I will listen. Everybody else, shut the hell up. I don't want to hear it. Your team probably has a scumbag. End of story.
Yep.
Okay, what are we talking about next?
Nicely done, Blake.
Yeah.
Like, it's just driving me up the wall. But, so, the last thing I want to touch on this, now that I got my rant out of the way, I'm all fired up, is should Watson have just accepted the settlement when they offered him 12 games?
I think that remains to be seen.
I mean, hindsight's
I
2020.
completely agree with you, John. Who knows?
It just depends. Was this the situation all along where the NFLPA said if the NFL appeals this and they do try to go for that indefinite suspension or the year, we are going to expose everything. Maybe that's the long game. I don't know. Maybe there's more at play than just Deshaun Watson taking the suspension or the settlement.
I still think there's a really big chance that the NFL and Goodell don't even care if Deshaun gets suspended, but they really want all these drones that believe everything the media says to think he wants an indefinite suspension of at least 1 year. That's a possibility, a strong possibility.
It's just, and I keep saying they're going to seek an indefinite. What do you mean seek? You're just going to do it. It's up to you.
Yeah.
Right. The NFL is seeking. Well, that's just you're just going to do it. So just do it.
Right. Just like why even have this judge do the whole thing like we talked about all the show? Like you're just going to do what you want to do anyway. So what is the point?
Yeah. So Adam Schefter repeating NFL seeking indefinite. What do you mean they're seeking it?
Yeah, they're just going to do it.
It's up to them. And what it should say is NFL gonna give an indefinite suspension.
Yeah, with a U, gonna.
Yeah. So I don't understand this wording of they're seeking. Like we said, it's just even if it's not Roger and it's in a designee, it's just a Roger puppet.
Yep.
So I guess we'll see what happens. We should know within the next few days. We'll know before we do our next episode, hopefully.
Will we, though?
See.
I don't know, man.
Well,
I feel like this is just going to be a mess. We're going to be 365 days out from here, and we could be saying the same exact stuff. I don't think this is anywhere close, and I feel like it's just the beginning. This is just the tip of the iceberg.
And I know a bunch of fans of other teams are going to give me crap here, but worst case scenario for the league here is they do year-long suspension. NFLPA sues, gets the temporary restraining order. Deshaun Watson plays this whole year. Browns win the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Oh, man. That would not.
You know what
right.
I mean? And it's on every TV, national networks. And this guy who is suing the NFL for being suspended for allegations of sexual misconduct just won the Super Bowl.
I can promise
you don't want that.
There will not be a 30 for 30 documentary on that. There will not be one for that.
It does kind of go back to what Justin was saying earlier about why wouldn't the NFL just, you know what, she ruled 6 games. Let's just take it and get this over with. Because you brought up all those names, Ben Roethlisberger, Ray Rice, Ray Lewis, like all these guys that have these bad things happen that they've done and all that. People forget about it. Like people have very short memories. A year from now, if Deshaun Watson served a 6-game suspension and the Browns went to the playoffs, maybe make the AFC Championship game, whatever ends up happening, and then we go in whole off season. There's a whole bunch of other crap that happens. This is old news. You know what I mean? And
for better or worse, that's the way it is.
That is the way it is. I just don't understand why the NFL would want to keep dragging this out whenever, like you said, Justin, I think they have a lot to lose in this.
I think they have. I think the worst thing that they could do is. And I've talked to a lot of people about it. I really think that this is just going to be.
I think honestly, what do you guys think? My instinct is that they have more to lose than Deshaun does because Deshaun Watson could lose a year. He could lose 2 years of his career in playing football or whatever. He's still going to have a lot of money.
He's already been exposed.
Yeah.
We already know everything
He's still going to go on with his life. He'll, probably have children. He'll grow. Like he's going to have a life. But the NFL, if a lot of things get drug out in the open here, they could ruin their reputation. It could hurt their bottom line. I mean, who knows what could happen to the league if
cost
things start
Roger
to come
a job.
Out. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Enough stuff, like things get pulled out that he's had a hand in covering up.
Yep.
Could cost him his job.
That's why I don't understand why they're doing this because I just think there's more at stake than Deshaun has at stake.
And if you don't believe that the NFL's hands are dirty and cover-ups and stop being naive.
Yeah, just turn it off.
Just search Daniel Snyder.
Yeah. You
Or
know what I
Jerry
mean?
Jones.
Just stop. Like, if you don't think Rodgers' number one job when it comes to keeping the brand clean isn't paying people hush money, making things go away, that's literally his job.
Yep.
So just don't be naive. The NFL's hands are not clean.
Hey, Browns fans, you've heard us talking about Omaha Steaks for a while now, and they are seriously the best steaks that we have ever had. Summer is here, and no backyard grill out is complete without Omaha Steaks. Go to omahasteaks.com and enter DAWGS, DAWGS, into the search bar. You're going to get a special price on the All-American assortment, and as a tasty bonus, you've been hearing us talk about the 8 free ultra juicy Omaha steak burgers that you get when you place your order. Well, now they're changing the deal, and you now get 12 of those babies. So you get 12 free Omaha steak burgers with your order when you go to omahasteaks.com, enter DAWGS into the search bar, order the All-American assortment. You get 16 mouth-watering entrees, 4 famously fork tender, double trim, butcher's cut filet mignons, 4 pork chops, 4 boneless chicken breasts. Is anybody else here getting hungry? Plus, so much more. There's a reason why Omaha Steaks has been the leader of gourmet steaks since 1917. No one, and I mean no one, comes close to matching the flavor, tenderness, and the value of Omaha Steaks. So go now, order the All-American assortment, fill your freezer with enough gourmet food to keep your cookouts going strong all summer long. And don't forget, for a limited time, our listeners get 12 free Omaha Steak burgers when they order the All-American assortment. So hurry up, visit omahasteaks.com, type in keyword DAWGS, DAWGS, into the search bar. That's omahasteaks.com, keyword DAWGS.
All right, so let's move on to some more happy news. Things that hopefully I won't have to swear about. So, like I said, we were up at training camp. Obviously, we get Jake Trotter's notes every day, but we got to watch him with our own eyes on Saturday, the first day that fans were allowed. So we wanted to touch on some training camp news. First thing I wanted to mention, tough news for Isaiah Weston. We actually put out a video about him because he was Josh's sleeper for the season.
Yeah.
Suffers an ACL injury. I don't think he tore his ACL, but something he still requires surgery.
Talk about maybe a ruptured ACL.
Something weird. I know you can like actually tear the tendon, or it can like come away from the bone. So I don't know what he did, but either way, he's out for the year.
Yeah.
Which really, it sucks for him because, well, one, like, I think this was a good opportunity for him, especially with some of the other injuries in training camp, for an undrafted guy to make a team. They're already facing an uphill battle.
He wasn't a guy that the Browns brought in late in camp. They signed him undrafted right after the draft. They wanted him on the team.
Yeah.
And we saw him up there, running some routes in the team drills. I mean, he was a big guy, big looking dude, quick. He's fast. Obviously, we knew he tested outrageously well at the combine.
What sucks is, so we had to watch they did a lot of drills in front of us, but then all the team stuff was on the far field. And I remember I watched him run the route that he got hurt on.
Yeah, because we were like, hey, that's Weston.
I was like, that's Weston. And then he ran it. I was like, man, that guy's big and fast. Like, he looks. And then they ran the play. And then I was like, oh, man, he's limping off.
Yep.
And then they had to come get the cart for him.
Yeah, they carted him off.
And I was like, what are the one play I happened to like be looking for him, and he gets hurt. So that's a tough break for him because, like I said, he now not only fighting an uphill battle coming back from injury, he's probably fighting an uphill battle to make a team somewhere. Undrafted free agents, they don't get a ton of chances.
And he's already been released, and I mean he's going to sit for a year.
The ACL injuries are always, give teams pause, and then like you said, when you're an undrafted guy, and
so tough break for him. In happier news though, 6th round draft pick out of Oklahoma, Michael Woods, has been a standout at camp. Yep. I know when we were up there, just when they were coming out to stretch and get warmed up, we were like, man, he's huge.
He's a big kid.
We were like, this guy is a big bodied receiver. And then we're watching the team and stood out multiple times. Underthrown ball, just comes back, takes it for a touchdown. Yeah. He looks big, strong, athletic, fast. I mean, he's been I would say he's probably been like the surprise of camp so far. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was definitely under the wrong perception of Michael Woods when they drafted him because I just had in my mind like this little like smaller slot receiver type receiver, body build and everything, but he's not. He's a big guy.
I just envisioned he was kind of one of those dudes who was not exactly a precise route runner, maybe not the best hands, but he played in Lincoln Riley's offense, so he's going to put up good numbers.
Mm-hmm.
But he's come in and he showed out. He's been given the opportunities because of injuries to Bell and Schwartz. Amari Cooper's missed a couple days, so he's had a chance to go out there and play. And, I mean, credit the kid. He's taken every advantage so far.
That could be 2 for 2 for AB getting 6th-round draft picks at wide receiver. I mean, Donovan Peoples-Jones looks awesome.
Yeah.
And we know what his potential could be. And, I mean, Michael Woods might be that same kind of guy.
Do the Browns need to sign a new receiver, though, with all the – so
They should probably get like 5 or 6 of them.
Isaiah Weston goes down. I know he's undrafted, but we had hopes that he'd make the team, make an impact. Amari Cooper's back today, but he's already been banged up a little bit.
Yeah.
David Bell has been out since the beginning of camp.
Schwartz
out. I mean, we were already really thin at wide receiver, and a lot of these guys have been banged up already. Come the season, I mean, Amari Cooper gets hurt. I mean, I know we got high hopes for DPJ, but it'll be DPJ and a bunch of who's.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that I think Will Fuller's still out there. I'm just so apprehensive about Will Fuller because if our wide receiver room's already getting hurt, I mean, what's going to be adding a guy who's hurt 95% of the time anyway?
Yeah, he's always got hamstrings or something going on.
So I saw Deshaun Jackson. Tell me, would you guys take a flyer on Odell? Even if he might not be back till midseason.
I don't think that Odell is even going to entertain signing with anybody until later in the season. I think in his position with his recovery going on, first, why even mess around with like a training camp and all that stuff? You can continue to train and rehab and do your own thing and then just kind of see how the season's going because he probably wants to win a Super Bowl. So, I mean, by the time he's ready to sign, it could be kind of like last year. I picked the Rams. You know, I pick whatever team looks like they need me and I could help them win a Super Bowl. Hopefully that's us. We'll see.
To answer your question, yeah, I would take him. But I'm a fan of that guy. Like I really like Odell. I always have. So if he comes back and looks like he's healthy enough second half of the season to play well for somebody, then yeah, I want him.
What do you guys think is a bigger need? Do the Browns need to pick up another receiver or another tight end?
That's a tough question. I think he's
tight ends, for the record, did a drill right in front of us, and I knew 2 of them.
Same.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
There's a whole bunch of guys I'd never heard of before standing right in front of me.
I don't know. Just I keep looking at what the team's doing or not doing, and what they're not doing is bringing in any other tight end. So I feel like there must be some of those guys that they're comfortable with as depth pieces. I don't know that for sure, but that's kind of what their actions tell me because they are bringing in more receivers now as these guys go down because they know that they need help there.
So I know we've signed a couple of receivers, but when I say should we sign another receiver, I mean like
a legit receiver.
Like a legit established NFL receiver, not somebody from Southwest Dakota State that I've never heard of.
How about let me just throw names at you and then we can quick hit these. And if anybody is exciting, you can say, hey. So you hit on Odell. Antonio Brown, we're all out on that, right?
Negative, yes.
Cool.
No.
Okay, Josh, you out on that?
Yeah, I'm way out on that.
What do you guys feel about Emmanuel Sanders?
Does he got anything left in the tank?
That's fair.
The thing is, he looked pretty good last year, the early part of the season with the Bills.
Mm-hmm.
Now, he could be the kind of guy that we bring in to kind of play a first half of the season type role, and then maybe we look at an OBJ later on.
It can't hurt to bring him in and see what some of these people have.
Keep going.
You're getting
how about another Buffalo Bill, former Cole Beasley?
So I actually really like Cole Beasley.
I would take Cole Beasley.
But my only problem with that is he's a slot receiver.
Yeah,
basically, essentially a slot receiver. You're not going to get him out wide. We got David Bell. We got Demetric Felton. Is there a place for – I don't know if that's the kind of receiver we need. I guess that's my point.
Mm-hmm. And then the fifth one is Will Fuller. I don't know if you want me to go any farther down that list, but I'm not really – I mean, there's T.Y. Hilton. I'm not interested in T.Y. Hilton.
What about like an Adam Humphries?
He's on there.
I mean, obviously he's a depth piece, but
yeah.
What about Deshaun Jackson?
I don't know, man. Like,
is he still fast?
I'm sure he's still very fast. But can he play more than one game?
Yep.
Because I feel like it's always that one game, the first game of the season, puts up big numbers and he's out.
I mean, I guess if you get him cheap, to me, that's kind of what we need is a stretch the field kind of guy. I mean, of all those dudes that you just read, Deshaun's the one that piques my interest the most. Will Fuller, I think, talent-wise, is easily the best one. But it's just, will he stay on the field at all? So I'd probably say Will Fuller, and I saw that the Browns' interest in him has gone up in the last few days.
I would think so, yeah.
So I guess we'll see.
And then do you guys want me to hit on tight ends real quick that are still available?
Yeah, go ahead.
So I'm just going to hit on the ones that I think are interesting. Jared Cook, I think we've said that for a long time. I would be very okay with that.
He's how old now? Like 30?
Probably 75, but
Okay.
it doesn't matter. All he does is go somewhere and be solid. And
I wasn't saying that as a opposition. I was just curious.
I think he's very old, but I don't know off the top of my head how old he really
35.
is.
He's 35.
Jimmy Graham.
I think I'm out on Jimmy Graham.
I think I am too.
He didn't even ball out with Aaron Rodgers.
No.
Eric Ebron.
Yep.
I mean, I'm on the record saying that's a guy I'd definitely take.
Blake Jarwin.
Yeah, I would do Jarwin
for sure.
And then Jesse James.
You know what? I don't hate Jesse James if that's the guy that they brought in.
Somebody besides a guy who was playing basketball 6 months ago.
Yeah.
Because I mean, in one injury to Njoku or Bryant, we're cooked at tight end.
And I think you can get a lot of these guys
Dirt cheap.
Yeah. The fact that they're still available.
I might be able to afford one of them.
Do you got time to come on a podcast? The fact that they're still available, and I think it even goes for like the receivers other than maybe like Odell. I think you could get relatively cheap.
For sure.
You know what I mean?
I just like to see, if for some reason, it just seems like we're happy standing pat. Maybe they're waiting to see what's going to happen with Deshaun. They're not going to go for broke if it's Brissett for a whole season. Who knows? But we definitely need help still. To me, don't consider this roster complete yet. It's very good, top of the league good. But there's definitely still a couple places that have me nervous. So another thing I want to talk about at camp, Deshaun Watson, outside of everything else, just football. The dude it's unlike anything the Browns have ever had. You know, watching him throw a football, it was Aaron Rodgers-esque. Like how it's just like a flick and it goes 50 yards, quick release. I mean, Deshaun throws the ball and you almost don't even see his arm move. It's just like a flick of the wrist and it's on a rope, 50 yards. I mean, it's impressive. There's a reason why the Browns are willing to put up with what they're putting up with him. It's because talent-wise, he's one of the best in the world.
And with Deshaun Watson, and I've been to training camp since 2018 minus the COVID year, and you've been to a few, haven't you?
A lot.
Yeah.
A lot of training camp.
Deshaun Watson seems so much all about business on the practice field. I mean, he wasn't playing to the crowd. He wasn't, dancing around or hyping up he was out there doing what he needed to do, going through the drills, getting better. And then he was over watching tape after the team drills for a long time, going through some of the plays and things. And it just seemed very, very focused. And I like that.
Focus, and it's just effortless.
Yeah.
That's like there's no need for any extra stuff because football is just so natural to him.
Right. Like pressure from the defense isn't going to rattle him because he knows where he's going with the ball.
Yeah. I've been to training camp. I've watched all these quarterbacks the Browns have had. He's easily the best one we've ever had.
Yeah.
And that I could tell that from the very first throw I watched him make. It was like watching something different.
And I mean, just if people are wondering, when he came out on the field, I mean, he got a standing
Did you read any of that
applause.
stuff? Have you read any so I've read multiple articles where it's muted response from Browns fans as Deshaun Watson was on the field. And I was
not muted.
It was not muted. Now Mary Kay, I can't remember if she reported that he got a big ovation or whatever, but we can say we were sitting there and as he came out, I don't think people really realized he was running out. But once people realized he was running out on the field and he ran basically down to the one field goal post and back, people were excited.
I mean, everybody was on their feet.
Yes.
I mean, we had to get up.
The dude's getting mobbed for autographs after every camp.
Yeah.
So if you're reading things on the internet about all these Browns fans, at least for all the people who were at training camp, I didn't hear a single negative thing.
No. I mean, there was a lot of Watson jerseys being worn. I mean, it's just exciting time.
Yep. Well, maybe for next year it'll be exciting. But I forgot to put this in here, but I think maybe the most impressive thing was John's sleeper for the season, Cade York.
I was going to bring him up if you weren't. Yep.
So they did all the team drills on the far field. So we actually got a front row show of Cade York putting on a kicking clinic 20 feet from us. the dude there's a reason we drafted him, and he's, at least so far, he's living up to that. The guy, he missed one, I think like 150-yarder, and then immediately tried it again, cleared it by 15, 20 yards. The dude knocked through a 58-yarder that would have been good from 65 easy.
Yep.
He's living up to the billing so far. We'll see what it's like in the stadium with the defense in front of him, crowd going crazy, but he looked the part.
But
the weather was real nice too.
Yeah, it was a nice day.
Yeah, it was beautiful out. That's fair.
But we talked about this up there, how, in years past, there's always 2 or 3 kickers that are kind of rotating on and off, making their kicks and doing the drills. He's the only kicker on the roster. Yeah. There's nobody else.
We're riding or dying with
He's
Kid
the
York.
guy. He is the guy.
Again, another thing that the team has done in their actions that show me they have a lot of confidence and faith in this kid, because they're not bringing in any competition. They're good with him.
You don't need to.
It didn't look like it either.
I don't think you need to.
He showed out, and I was very impressed.
No,
I just want to know, down by a point with 1 second left on the clock, 50-yard field goal, that we're probably going to win.
Yeah.
I haven't felt that in a long time.
I talked to Josh while we were watching him, and I said, look at what Cincinnati, and it sucks, I can't think of the kid's name right off the top of my head, but Cincinnati's kicker last year, all he did was come in and was just super confident, knew what he was bringing to the table, and just kick game winners. I'm like, the fact that
they don't go to the Super Bowl without him.
Right. The fact that he just looks at Joe Burrow and he's like, hey, we're about to go to the Super Bowl, and just goes out there and kicks it, no problem. Like, that dude raised up the stock of kickers for Cade York. That's
the vibe I get from Cade York, though. Like, he's out, like, he's got a confidence about him.
Yes.
Like, I know I'm a good kicker. I don't care. I can just go out here and bang 65-yarders. It doesn't matter.
Right.
Yeah.
So that was a big plus out of training camp. And then the last thing I want to touch on out of training camp, Jerome Ford's having a good camp. Yep. A guy who's looking at like 4th string running back this year, but he's especially catching the ball out of the backfield. And how many catches did you say he had in college?
31. They said he was not utilized as like a pass catching option out of the backfield, and we watched him for 20 minutes. He was literally same where Cade York was. They came out and started working right in front of us and couldn't tell.
No, he looks good catching the ball. He's thick.
Yeah, he's a
big
good size running back. Yes.
Absolutely.
He's good size running back. He looked quick, athletic, catch the ball out of the backfield. So that's good to see. What about anything you want to touch on out of camp, John, or we hit it all?
Yeah, I was going to comment on Cade York and Michael Woods. So
okay, cool. But yeah, so training camp, outside the outside problems, training camp seems to be going well for the Browns.
The last thing I want to do is just another quick shout out to a guy, D'Anthony Bell. We were trying to watch him, but the defense was on the far field though.
But he was out there getting reps during the team drills.
Reps. We saw him out there, and I was reading a thing that said he's actually been impressing in camp.
Good.
So maybe he makes the team. Maybe he's got a shot. It'll be fun to watch him in the preseason.
I did see that they were going to take, they were leaning to take extra safeties on the roster.
Okay.
Now, they did bring Moffitt back. Mm-hmm. So, I was like, oh, man, that kind of sucks. But, I'm rooting for the guy.
Man, I hope he makes the team.
I do too. Awesome. Absolutely.
Yep. That'd be pretty awesome if he makes the team.
Yes.
Email us back, bro. But no, it'd be awesome if you guys didn't get to watch that episode where we interviewed D'Anthony Bell. Go back and watch it. He was an awesome kid, super down to earth.
Yep.
So we're pulling for him here. Hopefully he can make the team. Well, anything else you guys want to touch on before I, go back into more rants and you have to go back and bleep out a bunch of swear words?
I'm not bleeping anything because we're about to do the after hour, so you do whatever you want to do.
All right. Well, thanks for checking out another episode of the Dawgs. Football season finally here. Training camp started. The Hall of Fame game is Thursday. Yeah. When you guys are watching this episode, it's today. We're recording on Wednesday.
Yeah.
Football is finally here. No matter what happens with Deshaun or the Browns are going to play football this year. It doesn't matter who's at quarterback. We're still excited for the season. It doesn't matter who's at quarterback. Just one way or another, we'll be more excited or slightly less excited. Either way, we're still excited. We appreciate you guys all being here with us. If you're a Dog Pack member, we'll see you guys on the After Hours show. If you want to play fantasy football with us, you have till Friday night to get into the Patreon. And we will be putting out information once Friday night gets here about how to get into the leagues. So if you want to play fantasy football with us, don't miss out. You got 2 more days to do it. To all the Dog Pack members, we'll see you on the After Hours show. And to everybody else, we will see you guys next week.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the Dawgs Podcast. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Twitter at the Dawgs Podcast and become an official Dog Pack member and join thedawgs.com.